This is Never Gallimore from the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to give a major shout out to Mike Tag. Keep bringing the hype to the Cowboys Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it? Let's get it.
What's up, Cowboys Nation? What is up? Welcome to another Monday in the Cave with your boy Mike Tag and Jimmy D. This is where this now, Jimmy. This is the time that you earn them paychecks. This is time you earn the money because you guys saw there ain't a whole lot going on in sports, but you know we could fill time. And before we get rolling, because I'm bad at it, make sure if you guys are new to the channel, let us know in the chat. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We celebrated in the cave, and we've really been only at this like 8 months. I mean, seriously, at it 6 to 8 months. We had our 20th interview last week with Eugene Lockhart, and I don't know that 20th interview. I don't know if you can top it, but that was. I still tell people if you didn't get a chance to see it, man, it was very memorable. So,
Well, I was going to say, you definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to watch it in its entirety. And I'll leave you with one phrase: a stack of rubbers. That's all you need to know.
Who uses like who says? I mean, the man's old school, and I said this. I think I said it to. I don't know if I said it on the show the next day, but he. I mean, we've had great guests, but he was the only guest. He called me afterwards and just was very appreciative, thanking me, and just said what a great time he had. Love to come back in the cave. You know, there was so many other stories I didn't even get to because it just it kind of sidetracked. But yeah, I heard the pain. And that's a tough thing. Like I've said before, you heard the pain. And some of these guys, they're not asked for money; they're just asked for medical. And I think that's the least that the NFL could do. But I don't want to get on a tangent. I did that the next day, but Thursday, I'm going to be, I got to go to the plant at Houston to take care of some family business. So I'm not going to be in. So I'm leaving the cave in the hands of Kelly K9. And he's got Camber and Mass are coming in, special guests, Cowboys Nation. You guys would know who they are, so it's going to be a good show. But I'm just a little concerned what's going to happen. I've already seen people on Twitter telling me that we're going to be coming back, we'll be suspended, so we don't want that. And so I'm going to play something. This is all that went through my mind. When Kelly said, "Don't worry, I got the show handled. Everything will be fine." Let me see if I can pull it up, Jimmy. Give me a minute. See if you get this.
Relax. You fellas have nothing to worry about. I'm a professional.
Yup. Does anybody get that? Parking garage of Ferris Bueller.
That's all I'm thinking is going to happen in the cave. It's going to be chaotic. But I messaged Cam and I told her, look, you're in charge. You control these guys. I don't want none at hand. I mean, we saw my man Kelly got into he got in a little bit of trouble over the weekend. Messing with people, and I mean that's what Twitter does sometimes. You get these guys. I mean, Jimmy, you know the type.
Yeah. No, you get, first of all, you get these guys, and they sit on Twitter, and that's all they do 24 hours a day is troll people. So I guess he got trolled the other day, and that's all these people do. That's their whole life. They got no boyfriend, no girlfriend. So somebody was trolling him the other night, and it got a good or ugly, whatever you want to call it, but It was something.
Yeah, I mean, our first annual Cowboys Cave tailgate party, we might have to set up a little throwdown if the dude ends up coming by. It wouldn't be in his best interest, I don't think. We might be rolling 25 deep in
That's
there.
right. Yeah, I know, man. I'd love to make it to that. I don't know if that's going to happen. Was it September 17th?
I think it's the 17th. It's the 17th. And we got my man Fred's here. I mean, he's already got the grill ready. Send it to me. I mean, this thing, it's going to get bigger and bigger. So, getting the tent. We're going to get some flags. I mean, we're gonna do this tailgate the way it needs to be done. We're going to have a good time. Hopefully some Cowboys Nation. You just got to stop on by. Now that being said, they say you give something for the effort here. You bring a little beer here and there. I don't want, I can't be supporting the drinking habits as well as eating habits. So you guys, you got to show some love and BYOB, if you know what I mean.
Don't be coming around the tailgate with empty pockets.
But it's going to be a good time. The only thing that worries me, I feel bad for Mark. He's been scouting out the areas, scouting out the lots, and we went to lot 10. You and I think we walked through lot 4, lot 10. So those are kind of like the good spots as far as where my tickets are. A lot of action, a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's where the ideal spot probably would be to tailgate. But I mean, I'm hearing you got to get there at the crack of dawn. So now we got a little. Now we're gonna have a little. Might have some issues. What's up, man? What's up? Was that Crown? I don't know what Crown is, but what's up, Crown? And obviously Doug's in the house, and Troy's in the house, and Fred, and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how early I'm gonna have to get up to make it to get this thing set up.
So what you got to do is you got to get yourself prime and you got to get in marathon mode, man. That's going to be a long day. And Doug, to your point, honestly, it depends on my kids, their sports schedule. I'm gonna figure that out soon because I'd love to be there. It's a fun time. AT&T is a great time, and it's fun partying with Cowboys Nation.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long day. Got to make sure you got to do all the right things. Got to eat the peanuts to plug you up a little bit. Get the peptide. You want no issues going into that stadium. If you're going to be there from 8 o'clock till the game's at 3:30, your target's 7. Usually we end up, depending on the outcome, which better be a good one, we end up going down to Texas Live and you have some celebratory drinks or something like that. And then I'm on a plane. My plane goes back home. I got to be at the airport by about 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, well. So why don't you just bag the hotel and go stay the night at the airport? Just go lay in the terminal like the people do miss their flights or whatever.
Close enough, I might as well.
Well, exactly. See, if that was me, I'd be worried I wouldn't be able to get through security even at 5:30 the next morning. So, and it's funny. You mentioned this time of the year, and a couple months ago you said, "Man, there's not much going on," and this and that. Then all of a sudden the Heat start winning, and there's a lot going on.
I know,
right?
I know.
And then they lost, and then subsequently the Panthers lost. And by the way, my man Kachuk playing with a broken sternum. But anyway, I digress. All that we have now is Yankees baseball, professional wrestling, and Cowboys cave. That's what we have right now.
That's all you got. I mean, this is what they call for me the dog days. These are the dog days until training camp gets going, and then we'll have a lot to say. I did I'm working on a couple reels. I'm trying to get better at it. So, and then working on some topics. We got Kelly, we got some good topics for Thursday. Thursday's going to be great with Cowboy stuff. But, I mean, now you're kind of figuring things out. It's like, do you break down rosters already? I mean, do you break down who's going to make the team and who's going to get cut? I mean, who knows? It's just so, so far, so much time left that we can't do it. So professional wrestling is one thing that we can cover. Now, I watched, I love the biography channel. They do all the wrestling stuff. And I watched the Roddy Piper, they were trying to get all his artifacts and they went back to his daughter. They got the bagpipes. They got the leather jackets. I mean, it was kind of an emotional, show because obviously he passed away, but
yeah.
She was telling stories and I was, my dad was a huge, Piper fan. He still has a hot rod shirt he wears. And, I didn't know he got stabbed by fans. They took him so serious that he got stabbed outside of arena one time.
Yeah, I think it was in Southern California. Because remember, he actually was like from Canada, and he was homeless for a while. Then ended up in Seattle, and then in Southern California. He got knifed up, man. Because people back then, I mean, they knew, but they didn't know. So, and he pissed people off enough that they attack him. And he wasn't the only one who got it, but if you're that good that you incite riots like that or incite, getting assaulted, it's pretty good.
Well, I'm surprised like Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik, that never happened to them. I mean, when I was a kid, they were the bad guys. That is Iran and Russia, and it was the Cold War and everything going on there. So, I mean, they were at the peak of hatred, but so I just, because Roddy Piper, he was always funny to me. I never took him, to be as big of a heel. So it kind of took me back. But I mean, it was just a really cool story, and it was a lot of fun. So Anyway,
Well, and that's the thing, back then, think about it. Those guys, there was no internet and they were all regional. So these guys would travel from area to area. And it wasn't until, some of these guys were wrestling 10 years before McMahon got the WWF or WWE, whatever you want to call it, until, they got him national. And
yeah,
then, you get Piper's Pit. And that's where a lot of these guys really blew up.
yeah.
But
Oh,
you
I used to love Piper's Pit, man.
remember the Iron, well, rest in peace, the Iron Sheik. You remember when about probably a little bit past our prime of watching WWF days, he then became an Iraqi sympathizer when we went to Desert Shield
I
and
don't
Desert Storm. Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
yeah. They were keeping
They
him
were just trying
around.
to give him a paycheck, and help him out a little bit. He had some hard times, but no, it's cool watching some of these things. Old school wrestling. I mean, to me, it's still the best. The promos, the storylines, everything that goes with it, and there's no doubt about it. But with talking about the NFL, let's just change gears for a minute. Just talk
Yeah,
about the NFL for a minute. So you have now you're getting some of these teams, and we've talked about sleepers, we've talked about we talk about different things. You got some of these free agents, and now you're starting to see the running backs. And we didn't get into it. We kind of touched
yeah,
on it, but you're seeing the devalue of running backs in the NFL. You're seeing Barkley, you don't know what's going to happen to him.
yeah.
You got all these, Robinson just got cut, Cook
Cook.
got cut. Yeah, the what's his name, Jacobs from the Raiders, or they're
Yeah.
going through that whole thing. You don't know. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole running back position? Are you starting to see that it's just they're going to draft him? Because I think about Tony Pollard, and we had this conversation on Thursday. Do you just think the Cowboys, they franchise him 1 year, they're just going to just work his ass into the ground like they did DeMarco Murray, and then you just go get another running back?
That's what you do, man. That's why, I'm happy the Falcons were in the position we're in. We technically have 3 running backs,
Yeah,
two legitimate starters, and I think that's what they're going to do. And it's sad to say because, like you said, you're running the man into the ground. You're going to
yeah,
have him carry how many times? How many times did he carry the ball without? He's going to get hurt. You know what I mean? So it's a 2-headed league at running back. You have to have a second running back. And what happens if something happens to him midseason?
no.
Right?
Well, you
And
do. I just look at these guys and I'm just thinking, it's like, God, I mean, they just take a beating and
yeah.
they're just, I mean, Zeke's not even signed yet. I mean, you can't tell me a team can't find him, but I think a team would sign him, but I just think his asking price is probably just more than a team would want to pay.
Yeah, but each week that passes by, that asking
Oh, it's
price is going lower and lower.
lower and
So
lower.
how long does somebody wait? Right?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
if
do you get to a point if you're Zeke or Cook or one of these guys, Robinson even you could put in there that doesn't have a job that's a capable running back has proven themselves, had put up yardage. Do you just roll the dice and see if someone gets hurt and try and catch a team at a desperate time?
I mean, that's a real roll of the dice. I mean, it's bound to happen, unfortunately, but uh, you can go through October and you ain't making any money. So hopefully they save some money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, Troy, no, the person I'm going with gets free parking. Disabled veteran. Thank you for your service.
Yep.
So yeah, we got the parking covered. It's just a matter of where. And like I said, lot 10 is my ideal spot because that's where your boy seats are at. So I'm not a big fan of walking, especially after the game. And I don't want to stumble either. If we're at the tailgate too long, if I'm too far, then I may not make it into the game.
I remember a few times you had to carry me out back to the
I would
car.
carry out of the game. It was sleeping. It was sleeping in
You're
the Miami game where we went to the Miami Hurricane game, and I think it was Temple, and you
Temple.
stretched out 2 rows sleeping. And there ain't nobody there in the hot sun. And our buddy went down. I mean, this is how
Yeah.
security was back in the day. Went down on the field and got some Gatorade because we were thirsty. Walked out on the field, sitting there with the players, got some Gatorade, walked back up and brought us a couple cups of Gatorade.
Gave us some hydration. It worked out perfectly. Yeah, that was funny. Imagine that. Imagine doing that nowadays at any level.
Oh,
He just
God.
walked onto the field and nobody said a word. And he had no gear
Yeah,
on.
yeah. You saw what happened when you weren't there when I our buddy and I we ran on the field. Fish and I ran on the field. We weren't accepted kindly. Ended up getting thrown up against the wall and dragged down under the under the stadium into the holding cell, whatever they had in Miami. But thankfully, see, you got to have smarts. I knew one thing. I was 17, and I knew they weren't going to arrest me because I was underage. They were going to call my parents. So what I did was I had my brother make sure he answered the phone and and say he's my dad. That way, we got no issues. And my buddy who I was with was over 18. We rolled the dice. I mean, he rolled the dice, not me, because we just banked on the fact that I was underage. He had just turned 18. So they wouldn't arrest one and not the other. So it worked out perfectly. We were told never to go back in the stadium. They took our picture, mugshot, whatever they do at the stadium, said that they'll find us. And they never we were there the next week, I think. They didn't bother us.
Well, and that gets back to what we've talked about the last few weeks. We've touched on several times. Imagine if there was cell phone cameras and internet or whatever, social media when we were doing all these shenanigans. I don't think we'd be here right now. At least one of us wouldn't be here right now.
No, I don't know if you do it, because that's why I said, like, I look at my kids and they're kind of quiet. I guess they're not quiet. I mean, in my eyes, they are. I don't really see anything. But I got to think, if there was cameras, would we do as much as what we did? And I think that was the cool thing when you're a kid and you didn't have those cameras. You weren't worried about the repercussions that I think you have now. Now, maybe some kids don't care. I've seen some stuff on social media. Some of them obviously don't care that there's a camera anyway. But I think we probably, I don't know, maybe not, but I think we would. I think we probably.
Well, you'd hope so, unless you're John Moran from Memphis and you're, rolling on the social media or carrying your gun. And now he's pissed he's getting 25 games. I think he's lucky he's only getting 25 games. But yeah.
Well, and the thing is if we would have done that, we probably wouldn't be employed, today.
Right. Yeah, that's true. No, be unemployed.
That will be the ones trolling on social media,
right.
and, bothering people, interrupting them for a very nice day. You have it, and all of a sudden you get attacked from all angles by people that just don't like maybe what you have to say. I never understood that. If I don't like something, I just kind of scroll by. It's just like if I'm walking and people are acting a fool, I just kind of like, all right, well, I'll just keep going. It's my own business. It's not bothering me, not bothering hurting anybody else physically, where you'd want to jump in and help them out. But, it's just people you got these certain, I guess Karen, is that the words they use? The Karens that just got to get all up in your business.
Well, you know what it is, though. With me, I usually lay off. I'll just let it go. But if it's a Friday or Saturday night and it's 10, 11, midnight, something like that, and maybe I have a couple of, tall ones in me by that point, I might comment. But again, I still recognize that there's a line you draw. And, like you said, there's wackos out there. And Kelly proved that the other night that there's wackos out there.
That's right. Sometimes you just got to kind of like, you just got to walk away. You just got to walk away and let it go. But yeah, so with the NFL, just jumping back, I mean, there's really, besides the running back we talked about, did you see Antonio Brown? I guess he got kicked out. His team got kicked out of.
Yeah.
What is with this guy?
I don't know, man. Another guy. I mean, you made it to the show. I don't understand these people who work their asses off. I mean, their family sacrifice, they sacrifice, and they just allow stupidity to keep catching up to them. I mean, it's so much money at stake there. You know what I mean? What are you doing?
Do you think it's the money? Do you think maybe a couple too many shots, into the head, just not well? I mean, because
it could be. I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous. And speaking of what, you see Dion might lose his foot.
Yes, I'm glad you said. I wanted to talk about that. I mean, that is just. I mean, I was reading the story on that. Between that and then you saw Ray Lewis's son. You knew it wasn't good. 28 years old. I mean, typically you don't die of natural causes at 28 years old. I mean, but just so sad to hear that. And then you see obviously Deion Sanders. I mean. Mentally, for Dion, is that something, how do you overcome that?
I think in his situation, I think that I don't think, obviously you lose a limb. That's going to be a problem. It's going to affect you, but he's really headstrong.
Yeah.
And I think he's just badass enough to where he's going to be like, he'll use that as motivation for his players. Like, look what I'm dealing with. You know what? Go out and bust your ass on the field. I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah. Now, would he be I guess he would be in a wheelchair? Or do you think they'd get a
No, it'll no. You'd be like Paul McCartney's wife. They'll put one of those fake lower
Yeah,
legs on.
something like that. I mean, I know people who have that because I just was
Yeah.
thinking, has anyone ever coached the sidelines like if he had to be in a wheelchair?
I don't know. That's a good question. My thought again is that, or did you ever see Deuce Bigelow, where he's in bed with the girl and her leg comes off? I don't know. Just a thought. Just thinking out loud.
My
But
eyes aren't really green. Remember that? Oh, but yeah, no, that would be that yeah, that would suck.
yeah,
So
Edgar, absolutely. Prayers for Dion. I know we're joking a little bit, but
no,
again,
I
if any,
hope I
right.
just hope that everything works out and that doesn't have to be. I mean, that's terrible.
But it's sad in the world of football. That's really what the highlights are this week. If
Oh.
between Ray
Well,
Lewis and
we
third.
got to highlight. We got to highlight. Now, we always talk about the power of the show. I think Jimmy, you've always the power of the show, and good things happen when you participate in the show, when you're a guest on the show, all that kind of stuff. So finally, my man from the U, Coach Dennis Erickson, he stopped in the cave. He was again. We hit that 20th milestone of interviews, which I think is so cool to think. Hey, you get 20 former players and coaches coming into the cave, talk about the career, talking to sharing stories about the Cowboys and things like that. It's such an honor. Also the U, of course. But Coach Erickson stops by, and then lo and behold, he's going to be inducted into the Ring of Honor this season at the U, and he's going in with another man who's finally getting in the Ring of Honor. It's not the Cowboys Ring of Honor where he belongs, but Jimmy Johnson is going into the Ring of Honor. And one I would have thought was in the Ring of Honor, Chuck Foreman, running back from Miami back in the day. He's going in the Ring of Honor. So I think that's pretty cool. The power of the cave. And I got to reach out to Coach Erickson and make sure I congratulate him. And hopefully they do the induction when we're down there for a game and get to see him in person. But so half joking, but Jimmy Johnson getting into the Ring of Honor, not getting into the Cowboys Ring of Honor. I mean, it's just another. It's going to be another day where Cowboy fans, at least if you're a Miami fan or you're paying attention to football, it's going to be brought up again. It's like, how is he not in the Ring of Honor for the Cowboys? It just makes no sense. Even Eugene Lockhart,
Yeah.
who was kind of, Jerry had his hands in it, but Jimmy had, he had the plans, and he even said that the AD at Miami, he was at New England. Jimmy Johnson convinced, or they orchestrated Eugene to come back to Dallas instead of going to Miami on Plan B free agency, then just to trade him up to New England for a first-round draft pick, who all ended up being Russell Maryland from the U. So, even Eugene Lockhart said, how do you not have Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor? He got the rings for the Cowboys in the 90s. He was the one who built that program and built that team up. He orchestrated it and was involved. Even he said it. I mean, how's he not in the Ring of Honor? It blows my mind. And then Jerry comes out and says nobody is going in this season. I understand you want to keep it an exclusive club, but I mean, Jesus, God, I mean, you're leaving out the coach who has as many Super Bowl rings as Tom Landry.
Right. The man who orchestrated the whole thing, first of all. And secondly, I can't believe that either Erickson or Johnson weren't in the Ring of Honor yet. That baffles me in and of itself.
Yeah.
How are they not in it? Right?
No, it's insane. It's insane. I said this before. We reached out to Jimmy. And Jimmy politely, he said he declined. Said he couldn't come into the cave. So, I understand, and sometimes they have contractual obligations and things like that with other networks. So, they can't go into the Cowboys Cave Network. I guess us and Fox must be competing for viewership. I don't know what the hell's going on, but we'll get him on one day. If not, I'll get my ass down to Key Largo. I know his restaurant. I've hung out there, and I'll just wait him out. I've done that before.
Exactly. Tell him, get your ass in the cave. The most important Dallas Cowboys, the most important NFL show in the country today. Actually, internationally. We've got friends in Germany. I've been on the shows with the UK Cowboys that did their show at a great time, and we're known throughout the world. I mean, it's an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing. I gotta ask Jerry Jones why Jimmy's not in?
We're gonna have to find out. We're gonna get
Yeah.
Jerry may want to come onto the show after everything that was said. He had to come on, defend yourself.
Yeah, exactly. He might need some redemption. And actually, I love Eugene Lockhart to come on again, and he might have a little more to elaborate on. It sounds like.
No, we will. We ran, we were running up against the clock. We try and keep him to an hour. We ended up going like an hour and 20 with him. But there was a few things. There was a couple stories we wanted to get into. There's a basketball. Dallas used to have this traveling basketball team. It was like all the players, and they just go play basketball. And there was a story about him and Michael Irvin, because Eugene was the alpha and Michael Irvin was a new guy. And it was like, you gotta claim your territory. And I guess him and Michael Irvin got in a fight. So Michael Irvin ended up being the lead dog from what I heard, but I don't know. They got to find out. You got to hear the story. But I'd say this: I wouldn't mess with Michael Irvin, and I sure the hell wouldn't mess with Eugene Lockhart. Those are probably two guys that I would steer clear from, because Michael Irvin, people don't understand. Michael Irvin, growing up in South Florida, 17 kids. I mean, I had two older brothers. I didn't know the beatings that I got, and I can only imagine. And I think he was one of the youngest of 17.
Oh, geez.
So, you're fighting to eat.
He got his ass kicked.
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
It's survival. So, so they came the basketball. Yeah, so that's the only thing. I miss all that stuff. Not living in Texas, I could have been hanging out. We used to have the Miami Dolphins. They did the same thing, and it was Jim Jensen, Tony Nathan. Who was
there was
who was a lineman for, was it Richmond Webb, maybe?
Richmond Webb, I think Greg Hardy. There was a few guys. That's right. I forgot about that.
Jimmy Cephalo might have been in
Jimmy
that.
Cephalo. He went to all the events. Cephalo.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been a thing, because we did that. The Miami Dolphins did that when I remember as a kid. They used to run around and they would do different basketball games. So it's pretty cool. He
owns 5 of the jerseys. That's actually pretty cool, man. What you got him? You got him hanging up, Double Star? Because that's something. Where do you get hold of those kinds of jerseys?
The basketball jerseys from the Cowboys he's talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you gotta message me some pictures of that, man. I would love to see that. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. I did. There was a Eugene Lockhart. I don't know if any of you guys remember starting lineups. I don't know if you remember starting lineups. So starting lineups were the little figures that they used to have, and today they have McFarlane's, which are gone, but now they have Dragon or something. They do these players. So they had these figures, and I remember Christmas, man. I must have got every figure, but it was all baseball. It wasn't really on football because it was all regionalized. So you couldn't really get any Cowboys in Florida. It was always usually Dolphins. So there were certain ones that are very rare. And Eugene Lockhart, his is pretty rare. And so I was bidding on it because I was like, man, I'll try and get it. And then, he gave out his phone number to everyone. I just call see if he'd stop. I begged him not. I tried to stop it, but I'm not gonna. He's a grown man.
Right.
His number. He got his number.
He was assistant.
But so I was gonna just get it signed and have it, in the cave, because I have a bunch of starting lines. But that one, that '89 year was pretty rare. There's like Bill Bates and Steve Pallure and Herschel Walker,
Billy Bates.
Yeah, Billy Bates is another one it's pretty rare. His is a lot of money too. I think Doug Cosby's pretty rare. Ed Too Tall Jones. I have an open Ed Too Tall Jones that I found somewhere, but yeah. So anyway, it's you always got to find something to enhance the cave, and that's why, like I said, I've told some other people we're doing that giveaway. We got to get to 2,000, so we're about 500 away. But once we get there, I think we're gonna. We did the Micah Parsons, so I think this time we're going to do CeeDee Lamb. We're going to do a CeeDee Lamb signed picture, and we'll do a day where we'll do a drawing. You got to be live. You got to be there. You got to be present to win. So depending on how many people are kicking it with us at that time, you have that shot to win the picture. So, I think we're going to do I was either CeeDee Lamb or Pollard, but I figured out CeeDee Lamb would be a good one. He's going to be around a while.
I tell you, when I got stuff in the other room through the curtain over there, through the forbidden curtain. I have a lot of stuff in the other room, but I had so much memorabilia. A lot more than I have now. And we had about 10 years ago, we had a flood in our basement, and
Yeah.
it killed a bunch of stuff. And I was, between the water itself and then the humidity down there, I lost probably $10,000 worth of memorabilia, and it sucked. A lot of it was my teams, but there was other, there was other teams and
Oh,
other.
yeah.
It was awful, man. And
Well, hopefully I got you that Matt Ryan signed ball. Hopefully that's still in good
no,
shape.
I got that still. Yeah, greatest quarterback in Falcons history.
That's where the trouble starts for you guys.
Hey, his stats don't lie. I mean, look, I
No,
can't.
but stats are there. But I mean, you look at it. I mean, he probably is. Would he be better than Vic? Is he
Yeah.
better than Vic?
Okay, but again, Vic was cut short because of poor decision making, right? Yes, he was better than Vic just because of the longevity and the numbers he put up, and he brought us to the show. But like Vic, I mean, imagine if he wouldn't have, made some poor decisions in life and he played it out and, was with us playing for another 5, 6 years. Because I don't think his shelf life would have been shorter because of the being a running quarterback and taking hits. But I think he would have brought us to the promised land. I think.
Yeah, he was. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the Madden. I mean, I remember we used to have the Madden rule: you couldn't be the Falcons.
Yeah.
Wouldn't care. You
We
couldn't.
had.
Yeah, I think CD will be around. Mark. I mean, I know they're the owners, but they're not. I mean, they know they keep their stars. Sometimes, you could look at them and say that's one of the mistakes they make. If you look at the other side, from Cowboy fans, they say sometimes they hang on to their stars too long, and maybe they should let them go. So, but I obviously CD will be signed. He's in his prime, so I don't see him going anywhere. But yeah, Steve Markowski, that was the
Yeah.
one
Steve Barkowski, probably I'd rank third in Falcons history behind Vic. So
behind.
like I said, yeah, behind Vic. I mean, Barkowski, he didn't have a long shelf life either.
Yeah.
So and look what Vic did when he got out of prison. I mean, he actually played
1 year in
pretty damn well.
Philly. I mean, he had that
Yeah.
year in Philly where they were. I mean, they were pretty damn good.
Yeah, they kicked our ass out. It was like a kick in the nuts, man. He came back and he worked us. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me, right?
But
So
that's a thing when you look at the Cowboys where it's so, they're historically, obviously, to me, it's Aikman and Staubach are your two. Now, I didn't see Staubach play, but if I'm looking at what they meant to their teams and the organization, it's like I don't know how Staubach wouldn't be one. You know what I mean? I don't know how you couldn't make him one. But then you see guys like that are saying Romo is better than Aikman or Dak is better than Aikman, and I just I can't prescribe to that. Now it's a pass happy league, so the numbers are always going to be inflated more. That's just the way the game is played. Aikman, he never put up numbers because they really never had to. They were ahead of the game a lot. So in the fourth quarter, people look at like Emmitt Smith. Look, I never looked it up, but I wonder if they break his down his yards by quarter, and I would guarantee you, fourth quarter it probably dominates every other quarter for him because they were always in the lead, and they would just grind it out, and he'd be on these 12 play drives where he ran the ball 10 times, and just kill the clock. And so Aikman, it's never really fair to look at his stats. You just kind of look at what he did in big games. You look at what he did when they needed him. You look at all that kind of stuff, and that's why I'd have to put him 2. And then if I were to go 3-4 for Dallas, I'd probably have to put Romo 3, Dak 4, but Dak's career is not over yet. All he is Dak's one Super Bowl run away from jumping up to 3, and he's probably, if he got 2 Super Bowls, you probably could make the argument that he can go to 2. Or I don't know if anyone could overtake Staubach just because what he meant to the organization, the history of the organization. But he could make an argument if they make a run, he'd make a couple Super Bowl runs.
well, I got news for you. You talk about, Emmitt Smith grinding out those fourth quarters. If only Kyle Shanahan would add some play calling like that for us in the second half, we would have had a ring 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We were, it's funny. We were in New England. My kid had a hockey thing in New England, and there was a father, they were up from Atlanta. And so of course, naturally I'm like, hey, you Falcon fan? Now we're in New England. He's like, yeah. And I said, oh, me too. We start talking. He said, I was waiting for you to stay breaking my balls about 28-3. I'm like, no, man, I'm one of you guys, man. I'm a big fan. So that's all that. And it's sad to say, but that's all that Matty Ice is going to be remembered for when it wasn't his fault.
No, I mean, well, he's got to take some of the heat because I mean, all they needed was a couple first downs or this and that. I mean, any part of that quarter. Now at the end, it's 100%. I blame the offensive coordinator, but
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it was like you don't take the. Didn't he take a? Did he take a sack?
He took a sack.
Sack in
Then
a time, and then they had a holding penalty. I'm trying to.
Matthew, yes, he took a sack. Matthews had a holding penalty, took us out of field goal range, and that's where the wheels came off
Yeah,
real fast.
yeah.
Once that happened, I said, "Crap, man!" I said,
You
"This
could
is
just
over."
feel it. And it's probably was on today or yesterday because there. I watched the Super Bowl was on of the Rams and the Patriots, so I had it on background noise, but and just kind of keeping an eye on it. And you just forgot like Brady was like his, not really. He was like his second year or third year, whatever it was. He was no name quarterback, kind of, and it was just interesting watching that game and the defense. You forget how good that offense was for St. Louis, and the defense just stymied them. And yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty good. But back to Mark. Yeah, it is disappointing that Aikman. He doesn't get mentioned as that's funny. He doesn't get, he doesn't get mentioned in the same breath as some of the quarterbacks. Now he kind of, where do you put him? Now, for me, if I'm being honest, I mean, I got, Montana, I think I probably put Montana ahead of him. It just in the, let's look at the era. I would probably put
Right.
Montana ahead of him. I'd probably put Elway to me I'd probably put ahead of him. I would put now see that what I'll make the argument. I'd put Aikman ahead of Steve Young, and a lot of
Really.
people won't do that, but I would put Aikman ahead of Steve Young in that era.
Well, you know what it is too, and I'm glad you bring up eras because we've talked about it before. I mean, nowadays it's flag football for these quarterbacks. You can't touch them. Brady, again, great quarterback. I'm not taking anything away from him, but man, you can't even look at him cross-eyed and you're getting a penalty.
Yeah,
And you think back, Aikman playing in a different era, Elway in a different
that's
era.
why you gotta separate the quarterbacks. You gotta
Yeah,
look at your 80, 90 guys and your 2000 up, into that part, and your 60s and 70s are, you gotta kind of break them into generational,
yeah.
quarterbacks. And I think Aikman is in that group. I would probably, if I'm looking in that, I would put him over Favre. I know Favre threw a lot, had a lot of numbers, but he made a lot of bad mistakes too. He was exciting, but he didn't do anything. So I mean, I'd probably put Aikman behind just Elway and Montana in that group.
It's funny to bring up Young. I remember we did the crank call when the Buccaneers beat them.
Oh, Steve, yeah.
Oh, great Buccaneers! I give up. I quit. You are too much team today.
Hey, that's Tampa Bay. They won a big game. The guy was all excited.
Yep. We had our board up. Hold about an hour for that one.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
good one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
But Young's interesting because he was a great quarterback. I mean, he was a great quarterback, but he couldn't beat Dallas. Yeah, they got him in '94, but Dallas got him the other two times, and he just his career. You wonder what would have happened, but his career may not have been the same. Like if he stayed in Tampa, I mean, would he have done anything? Probably not.
No.
He goes to San Francisco, and you have that whole battle with Montana for years and years, and I mean, it really kind of screwed both of them up. And I forgot that really. That first championship game in Dallas '92, Montana was there. Like there was arguments that should Montana be, starting that game, and you wonder what could have happened. I just something about Montana in the playoffs, man. I would want no part of them, no part.
No,
Of them.
and it's funny because we're talking about stats, we're talking about rings, and you get a guy like Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Matt, he's got hardware, and look
Yeah.
what he did, right?
Yeah.
So it's this fine line. Dan Marino, in my opinion, the best pure passer that I've ever
Dan
seen.
Marino, yeah,
But
absolutely.
he didn't bring the hardware home. He never had a running game.
But sometimes he wouldn't. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I have no idea. But they said sometimes he would. He wanted to pass the ball. He used to be pissed off. He wanted to throw the ball, 50 times a game, and that wasn't conducive to success in that era. Now, if Dan Marino was playing today, Jesus, I mean, he'd be putting up 6,000 yards. I mean, he put five. Didn't he put up 5,000 yards in the '80s, which is like, If you got 3,000, you're like a Pro Bowler.
He put up 5,000 yards. I think it was 40, maybe 45 touchdowns one year, something crazy like that. I remember him and Ken O'Brien, him and the Jets. Dolphins and Jets used to have these outrageous, like 51-48 and 42-35. They had these crazy ass games that were a lot of fun to watch. But again, those guys they got their asses kicked. Dan Marino got hit. It wasn't flag football like it is today.
Yeah. Look at Mark. He's counting Jim McMahon's Super Bowl with the Packers. Didn't he get a ring with the Packers? Does that count if you're on the bench? Is that okay? It's going to give you.
Well, no different than Trent Dilfer.
Yes. Well, Trent Dilfer was on the field. He was on the field, and the Cowboys 5 Super Bowls, and it's been 27 years. We're reminded by that every day by the Eagles fans.
Yeah, right. It's funny. Bledsoe,
he was a good quarterback in that.
Now, do you remember we were out at Rock Candy, if I remember right? We were about 15 deep, and that was the playoff game with the tuck rule. We were watching that out at.
That was the Raiders and are you talking about that game? The Raiders.
Yes, yeah. Because remember, he came and Bledsoe got hurt. Brady took over, and then that's when that happened. We were out watching that at a bar that night.
I thought Bledsoe got hurt in that. No, Bledsoe got hurt early in the season, and Tom Brady took over. And then I thought Brady took over or Bledsoe took over for Brady, got hurt in Pittsburgh. And then there was controversy if Bledsoe should start the championship game, which is against the Raiders. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't follow them that much, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, but I distinctly remember we were out watching that.
Yeah, I don't even remember being there.
We were 15 deep.
Yeah. Marino, 5,000, 48 touchdowns. I mean, that is like 2 to 3 years for some guys in the 80s. Good quarterbacks in the 80s. That's a couple years.
And with no running game to set up the pass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I still argue he didn't want the running game. He did not want it. He was just to be pissed if they could run.
Who'd they have? Troy Stratford?
Yeah, Troy Stratford. You had Tony Nathan early on.
Sammy Smith later.
Enzo Hampton. I mean, you got a stable of running backs.
Sammy Smith fumbled about 20 times.
They drafted Sammy Smith in the first round.
Yeah.
They couldn't, after you get a guy from Florida State, that's what happens. That's why you got to get the guys to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You ask for it when you make those kind of mistakes. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, remember? Not the basketball player, but they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Had him on the team.
Yes. That's right. Hey, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I thought you were going to the movie Airplane for a second, honestly. But that's right. They had Kareem. I forgot about that. And he couldn't put his whole name on the back of his jersey. Remember? He had to put just Jabbar.
Did he? I thought he put Abdul-Jabbar on.
Did he? Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I thought he did. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember.
Bernie Parmalee.
Bernie Parmalee. I mean, you're talking about these are household names.
Jay Fiedler.
Well, whose fault is that, though? I mean, the Dolphins, you can't get a running back. Emmitt Smith, did you ever hear that story where Emmitt Smith, when he was holding out, Emmitt Smith called the Dolphins to go there. And he talked to Don Shula, and Don Shula said he wanted him to give him an offer. And he said, I'm not giving you an offer because I know Dallas would just match it. So Emmitt Smith called Marino and called Shula to try and get them to get him down in Miami when all that crap happened with the Cowboys.
You remember the time I had that Emmitt Smith injury, but it was a little bit worse. Yeah, it was a little bit worse. Yeah, can you imagine the fate if Emmitt Smith ends up in Miami? I mean, just the turn of fate, how that goes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Oh. Mark Higgs.
Higgs. I mean, how do you not win with these guys? I mean, that's got to go. That's got to go. Anthony Lawson.
Forgot about. Yep.
Yeah, he was a all Broward running back.
Broward. Yeah,
talent.
That's right.
So I mean,
forgot about him.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get these guys. I mean, there's no reason Marino couldn't have made it, but he had his shot. I mean, he had the shot in '84, but went up against obviously Montana, and then the other one, which would have really been interesting, is in '85. They let the Patriots, a wild card team, beat them and end up going to the Super Bowl and absolutely get annihilated by the Bears team that they beat that Monday night to give them their only loss. Tell me how that Super Bowl would have looked with Miami and Chicago. That would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, it would have.
May not have any rings.
What's that?
It might not. Chicago might be still looking for their first ring if that happened.
Yeah, people forget how long it's been since they had a ring. So I don't even want to hear some of our Bears friends. I don't want to hear them running their mouth. The ones that fell asleep at the Cowboys game last year.
Here's it. The 49ers, they're behind the Cowboys. I mean, you're talking historic franchises. The Washington, whatever, they're behind, right?
Yeah.
The Bears. I mean, the Bills. You'd think they won 5 Super Bowls. You didn't think they lost 4 in a row. The way their fans run their mouths and they talk noise about the Cowboys. I mean, Jesus, what an embarrassment.
Hey, speaking of the Bills, this whole thing with Diggs last week, I still think it was bizarre. That I know right now it's playing out fine, but that was strange last week.
Well, why would he? I mean, what was the point of that? You signed a contract and you got the money you wanted. I don't understand what the whole point of that was.
I still say that when he, I'll stick to this. When he went off on Josh Allen in that game they lost in the playoffs, I said that was it for him in Buffalo. And again, sign and potential trade. Who knows? Maybe he's like, look, I want my guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll get traded, because for him, just no show. And there was no real circumstances discussed about it. There's something weird going on there.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know him personally, obviously. He's never been into the cave, but he seems like just a good guy. Everything you've read and watched and just interaction with fans and things like that. I don't know what the motivation would have been just to do that, because you got the money, you got everything that you need. Was it maybe to send a message or to prove a point or to, I don't know. It made no sense. And if he wanted to play with his brother, I mean, he could have not signed with him and he could have caused more trouble. So I don't know. But
yeah, because you heard about that, and you heard about him going to the Cowboys, and then you heard about him going to the Giants for Barkley and picks.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, I mean, what happens if they get DeAndre Hopkins?
I want DeAndre Hopkins. The Falcons have enough money to get him, and that would be a perfect scenario for us. I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I think I don't know why. I mean, all signs are pointing to New England. It seems like
for
him, which New England makes sense too. But if I'm Atlanta, I want to get a guy of his caliber to go along with London. I mean, and with the running backs they got, I mean, that gives your quarterback, makes your quarterback's life a lot easier. If you want to take a young guy and make him a game manager, I think that's something that it'd work. It'd be a great fit for you.
Think about it. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Patterson going to be flanked out at times, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that would be outrageous. And I don't know why we're not dropping coin on that right now. No, it makes no sense to me.
Man, he's out there. I don't know what he's doing. We got Joe. Is the Bills coach on the hot seat if they don't go to the Super Bowl, or has he done enough?
What else is he going to do? I mean, they're lucky they didn't lose to the Dolphins.
If they don't go, that's a hard thing. I mean, you have this thing with Dallas too, and you run into it with these teams. If you've got a Super Bowl team that does not get to the Super Bowl, how long do you ride with that coach? Even though they're getting in the playoffs, they're winning the division or wild card, whatever it is. But at some point, I think he would be safe unless something like just they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, they end up just going really bad. But I just don't see them not being good. I think they got too much talent.
Tough division.
Good, but they're in a tough division. They're in a really tough conference. So there's no guarantees that they'd make the playoffs.
No, a quarterback heavy like you said, the better conference, probably the best. Well, I know you're going to argue with me, probably the best division in the league. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for them.
No,
at all. Unless Rodgers gets hurt. He already got hurt in camp last week or 2 weeks ago. He had to tweak something. He's fine, but again, you never know. He's older. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Right? And I mean, Clarence makes a good point. He goes, "Yeah, Bucks would have, they win 3 Super Bowls if they would have moved on from Dungy sooner." And I mean, there's something to be said for that, because I think Dungy, he got that team going, but he was stubborn and he was loyal, whatever you want to put it. and he just wouldn't make the changes on offense that they need. They had all-time defense, all-time
Oh,
defense,
yeah.
but he just would not make the changes on offense to give them a little bit more oomph to get them over the hump against the Rams. So you wonder, so yeah, you look at it and you just wonder maybe Buffalo looks at it, but like you said, the division you could argue the East West. I mean, that's probably it's going to be out of them which one's the best division. Me looking at the quarterbacks, if I'm well, what's a one's older? Wilson's a little older. You got Herbert and you got Mahomes, you got
Yeah.
Allen, Tua. He
He's
just obviously, he's an injury waiting, for happen. And then you got Mac Jones. I probably would take the West over the East, but it'd be yeah, that could be trouble too. But yeah, I
no,
would think AFC West is the best division. AFC East would probably be 2. And then I would think, I'm not being a homer, but I unless I'm wrong, I would think the NFC East would be 3 because you did get 3 teams that went to the playoffs. But I think the Giants are frauds. I think they got lightning in a bottle, and they got probably a benefit of a bad schedule, an easy schedule for them. I don't think they're the real deal. I think they'll get put back down to reality. That will start Sunday night, by the way. Opening night, we're gonna slap them around, so don't worry about that. See, I got a little excited. But yeah, I don't think the Giants are a real deal, so we'll see what happens.
and a pissed off Barkley. Now wait, now you're talking about the NFC. NFC South is the strongest division in the league. I forgot all about that. I'm trying not to be a homer here, but
do you think so? I mean, come on. They got no quarterbacks. I mean, it's all now. Do they have some young guys that maybe you might get something out of it? I mean, but I just don't know.
I'm breaking ball. No, we are not. I'm just breaking
I
ball.
know.
But
Trying
yeah,
to get an argument going. You didn't.
That's why. No. Because
we're trying to earn the money here.
Yeah, exactly. But how am I going to argue? I can't argue that, right? So, but we will win our division. We'll have 9 wins. You heard it here. I said it 10 times before. So we'll come out of division champs, and maybe we'll be hosting the Cowboys.
Yeah, Trinidad. He's AKA Trinidad Ultra. He's not. He got mad. I think he's mad at me. Maybe mad at Kelly. Maybe mad.
Well, he was on when Lockhart was on the other night. I saw him.
He was
Mr. Lockhart was on.
Mr. Lockhart was on. He was being disrespectful, so we had to give him the 30-minute ban. We had to get the ban. And then I could be wrong, so I don't know. And again, for the record, I like Ultra. I think he's funny. I think he brings some entertainment value sometimes. Sometimes it could be a little much, but then I think he went under the alias of Tito Trinidad, right? Is it Tito Trinidad? The boxer, he had his name.
Oh.
And so, and I know he liked boxing, so I think I put 2 and 2 together. And then I think that he might be Carl.
He might be Carl. Yeah.
Carl. So I don't know. It's going there. Yeah, the hype is going to be coming. So I can barely. I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
When he shows up with the alias Ron Mexico, then I'll be all about him. When that's the thing. I already had Troy breaking my balls about the Yankees. I was waiting for Ultra to come on here and break my balls about the Yankees.
Opportunity. A perfect opportunity. But yes, I don't know. Sometimes, I know how it is on these shows. Sometimes you get your feelings. I mean, we saw it with poor Kelly. These guys come out, then they get their feelings hurt. And next thing you know, they're writing, novels of how all this and that and everything they want to change the world, man. End of the day, man, we're all just having fun. It's, we've been on here an hour and believe me, we've been on here an hour, and I'll be honest with you guys. I told Jimmy before the show, and you guys saw the thumbnail. There ain't nothing to talk about. I don't know if we'll be on here 5 minutes, but can't help it out. And we appreciate you sticking with us because it is not easy. This time of year is not easy to sit and talk about. When my thing is NFL and the Cowboys, and I could talk some Hurricanes, so I threw Dennis Erickson in, and Jimmy's obviously he's football, but he loves hockey and basketball as well. So it's tough. And baseball, I know baseball, there's just too many games and too many things happen so fast. It's just really hard to talk about until the playoffs start.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, but when you're living the moment like the Yankees are right now, and I really think between what Hal Steinbrenner said a few weeks ago about, if we don't make the World Series, it's not a failed season. That's BS. George the boss is rolling over in his grave right now. And I think it's time for Boone to go. We had the Mets in extra innings last night. He makes last Thursday. He makes a dopey pitching change, and we end up losing.
Yeah.
And he plays the stats too much. Instead of using baseball instinct and gut, he goes to the stat book too much and all that. Come on, man. You've been playing long enough. You don't need that. So
Well,
he needs to
yeah.
go.
Yeah. And actually, WNBA talk is going to be on Thursday. Kelly's going to talk about all the females that participate in the WNBA and all the athletes. So I mean that's an insight. That was an inside joke because he got in trouble for using the word female on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Well, these trolls. The one dude trolling them. The guy. These trolls are out there. They got nothing better to do. They're probably they're probably typing away or on their phone. They're doing some of that under the desk. What's going on, man. These people have no life.
I don't understand the how that's offensive. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't want to. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
No.
I don't understand male, female, man, woman. All of that kind of. I don't know. I mean, I just I guess.
Yeah, I got some big ass nuts.
I guess I don't know.
George Brett. Double star, Joe Reed. The best ever was when Billy Martin waited.
Billy Martin with the pine.
Waited. That was the best. And then you knew that he was pine tarring it too much because not Brett himself, but one of his teammates grabbed the bat and ran into the locker room or into the clubhouse, and a couple of Yankee guys went chasing after him. So you knew he had too much pine tar on that.
Absolutely, and
it is all posturing.
It's all posturing. I mean, that's what a lot of this stuff is. So you just live with it. But yeah. So anyway, we've had we have a good time this show. Of course, these are the dog days. So we've got a holiday schedule that's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
We'll be here Monday. Someone will be here Monday. You obviously got Kelly Thursday. Your boys unfortunately got work engagement, so I'm not going to be there. But make sure you guys do tune in on Thursday because Kelly will be holding down the fort. You guys keep in line. I don't want to be coming back and end up the cave has been on suspension and we got no channel no more. Worked so hard to build this up for you guys. But so we've got at Cam, Camber, you guys know her from Cowboys Cave and Mass. They've done some podcasts. So they're going to have a great time. There's some good topics. They've got some good stuff to talk about with Cowboys. We'll get that vibe going. And then of course we'll be back, next Monday and then Thursday. And then probably the week of July 4th, we're probably gonna have a little vacation because your boy's not gonna be here. I'm gonna be up in a cabin. I tried to do a podcast there one time. There ain't no internet, so that ain't gonna work. So probably may take that week off unless Kelly wants to. If he wants to ride solo again, then he can have that as long as he doesn't get me suspended or get us suspended. Hey, that's the most important thing. So,
well, you know what? Maybe I'll be on standby just in case I got to run down and intervene a little bit.
Jump on there and start hitting the beeps and all that kind of stuff. But
I'll tell you one thing. I know we're getting up to the top of the hour. I'm actually, I think it's July 11th. We're going to Munich, Germany.
Oh,
and that's the Falcons. They have these international deals, these different countries. So ironically, that's the Falcons, like their country that adopted them or whatever. So I'm pretty hyped, man. There's like apparently some Falcons bars there and stuff. So I'm gonna bring my gear and make sure I take some Polaroids with the locals.
Well, I've got a friend from Germany in the Cowboys Nation, and I'm not saying this. It's crazy to me. He wanted an autograph from Mike Tag. So really? I said, well, I can't mail it to Germany. There's no way to get there. So I may send you something and maybe he can find you.
Tell him we'll be in Munich. I'll talk to you more about that off the air, but we'll be in Munich.
But maybe we'll get some in his hands. But this is the one thing. Here's one of my clips from that I did play once with Eugene Lockhart because I always wonder. You remember when you did those schedules, and you said the schedule comes out, and all right, we're going to win this one, we're going to lose that one. The fans do that. I always wondered if the players do that. Do the players sit and look at the schedule? Because you hear the players all the time. We take it one game at a time. We don't look far ahead. We take it one game. So we asked Eugene Lockhart about the Eagles and what he thought of them. And this is what he said.
And usually during the off season, when they bring the schedule out, we would chalk it up as a W.
So they went ahead and they looked at it. They went ahead and, they filled out the schedules to figure out what the record will be before the season. and
That
they chalked the Eagles up to a W. I mean, that's kind of how you roll.
I think that interview with Eugene Lockhart ranks up there with Jim Rome and Jim Effort. That ranks up in there with some of the best interview. I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, I had the interview on. I was watching. I had wrestling on the other channel. I hit pause on wrestling and just watched the rest of it after the interview because that was too entertaining. So again,
Oh,
if you guys haven't seen it, you
yeah.
have to watch it.
If you're missing a good one. And what a great guy! Like I said, yeah, we had fun and all that, but he was absolutely just an unbelievable guest. And we've got a couple more. We're working on some stuff, so you just bear with me. Bear with me. I'm trying to get a couple guys from the '90s because I'd love to talk more about that '90s team and just kind of feel it out. But yeah, it's man. My man Clarence, he watched it 3 times, and that's the thing. When you watch it again, you find stuff that you missed. I've watched it a couple of times. I was like, man, because you go back and just try and remember everything that was going on. Because when you're doing it live in the moment, you miss some of that stuff, so you don't get a chance to see it. Oh, we got that.
Yep.
Crystal.
How clear is it?
Crystal.
How clear is it?
Crystal.
How clear is it?
Crystal.
You know what though? The good part too, besides all the funny and the great stories and stuff, and actually some of the sad stories about how the NFL treats players who paved the way. We talked about that. But what he does for the community, he's an upstanding citizen of the community, and what he done, for charity work and stuff was really cool.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, he still is very active in that, and he told me stories about former players and some of the things that they're going through, and that's where I just say it's easy. I always say it's easy for us because I catch myself doing. I don't know if you guys do, but I catch myself when I look at former players and you look at these guys you grew up watching. You still think they're the superstars. You still think they're the invincible guy. You still think they're on a pedestal. And a lot of these guys, I mean, they retired when 33, 34 years old. You're talking, they're in their 60s. I mean, he's 62. They're 30 years later. It's almost you're having a whole nother life after football was everything. So, these guys, they're guy. They're just like just like us at some point. The tragedy for me with the NFL is, and I've said it a million times. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's just the medical is the big thing. Like all these guys got doctors and they got these teams have the team doctors and stuff like that. So I just don't know why they don't help some of these players, and maybe they do. But how many players have we had on in the cave? And the story still remains the same of everything that we hear. And a lot of these guys have make a living. They've got jobs. They do this and that. And they've got everything, but sometimes they get denied medical benefits because of all the issues and history that they had in NFL football. Some of these people aren't going to want to insure them. Well, and he's got early stages dementia. He's got he's dealing with CTE. I mean, that's just some it's sad.
And that's what Mr. Lockhart was talking about. Is he said the money is there. It's just a matter of trying to get the money and whatever it is, they're not distributing it properly. Remember Rod Martin, that interview? I mean, need I say more?
Yeah.
Right.
And then just another great guy, but you could just see it. You could just see it in a lot of those guys, and that we've had the opportunity to come on the show and tell their story. It's it's yeah. So,
Clarence, she was actually flying over a USFL stadium the other day.
Be careful, Jimmy. You'll be next.
Oh yeah, right. Kind of an inside joke.
Yeah. So, but anyway, no, but former Raider Rod Martin, he was in the cave. If you guys, I tell you guys, some of you don't know, but we started this show like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. We really started getting going. Over the last maybe 4 or 5 months, but we've done 20 player interviews and coaches. So I mean, Rod Martin was one of the early ones. Larry Cole was in there. Obviously, we talked about Dennis Erickson, JT Thomas. I mean, you can go on the playlist and on the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. If not, you can go to cowboyscave.com, go to player interviews, and it'll show you all the selection of the different player interviews that we've done, and you could check them out. It's definitely, their stories are, they're great stories. I mean, and Rod Martin was fun because we always say it's got to have a tie back to the Cowboys. and him, 3 interceptions in the Super Bowl against the Eagles and all of that, it made it even sweeter. So it's he was a fun one. It starts out a little tough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're new at it, but I mean, it took him a little bit to get going. But once you got it going, he was a lot of fun.
Hell of a nice guy.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So-
I still got to see him when I go to Vegas. I
Yeah.
still got an invite. Right? So, but yeah. So anyway, well, cool, man. We'll
Thanks,
get
man.
out of here. I got to fly out to Houston, so I gotta start packing, go to the Planet Houston for a few days. But I'll be back Thursday night. It'll be too late for the show, but like I said, Kelly K9 is holding the fort down in the cave, and he's got Camber and Mass are going to be in. They're great Cowboys Nation podcasters. I know you guys probably know them already, but they'll be coming in. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get through some of this stuff, but understand, the season's just around the corner. Just around the corner. So,
yep, we're almost there, man.
Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right, man. You guys, I appreciate you hanging with us. I know these are tough times, but you guys stick with us. We got a lot of fun stuff going on, and we're just getting this party started. So we will see you next Monday. Peace out. Now, can you dig it? The Eagles getting ready, because you might not like it, but you will learn to love it, because we are the best thing going today. Now, can you dig it?